You all are now tuned into Talkin' Sports with Chris Meza.
Hey y'all, this is Talkin' Sports with Chris Meza. This is week 2, episode 2, and I'm excited to be back with y'all this week. So before we really dive into this episode, okay, let's talk about that bull I was supposed to ride this weekend, okay? That really happened, okay? So let's check that out before we dive into this episode. It was a little crazy, okay? I'll admit I was a little scared when I saw this bull, okay? But I shook the fear off, and I decided to give it a ride, and I decided to see what happened, okay? So we got live footage of it, and so before we jump into this episode, let's go ahead and play that back and see what that looked like. All right, y'all, first things first, that bull was a punk. That's right, I handled that bull like a champ. Anyways, thank you for tuning in to Talkin' Sports with Chris Meza. Hope you had a good Easter. Hope you had a good weekend if you don't celebrate. Thank you for tuning in. This is episode 2, and we're getting kicked off now. Let's go. Okay, it's not quite what y'all thought, and that's okay. That bull was still big, and I still handled it, okay? So now that we got that out the way, let's go ahead and dive into this next episode, okay? Last week we talked about free agency in the NFL. We started it off with the division, and we started off with the AFC West, okay? This week we're going to continue that talk. And the division I chose to talk about this week was the AFC North. Okay, this division just intrigued me a little bit, and I wanted to stay in the AFC this week, so that's the reason I chose this division, and I wanted to speak on it a little bit this week, so let's dive into it, okay? First things first, first team first, we're going to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, okay, and rightfully so. Before we really dive into this and have a whole lot of fun, I want to take a quick moment to be serious and give my condolences and acknowledge Dwayne Haskins as he passed away a few weeks ago this offseason while he was down in Florida training with the team. He had a tragic accident, and man, we really hate to see that. Prayers, condolences, with much respect to his family, his friends, the organization, the Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Really feel for y'all right now, and just want to extend my condolences, okay? So now with that said, let's dive into the team itself, okay? First things first, they did sign a quarterback this offseason. They've had a long-time quarterback in place, Ben Roethlisberger, and this year that is not the case. So what is the Pittsburgh Steelers going to do? So they went out this offseason and they signed Mitch Trubisky. Yeah, I know that doesn't wow a lot of people, and it didn't quite wow me either. He was a backup for Josh Allen in the Bills last year. Before that, he was with the Chicago Bears. In 2017, he was drafted by the Chicago Bears at the number 2 pick. He was the number 2 overall pick in the 2017 draft, and that was kind of a huge swing and miss by the Chicago Bears. He was really underwhelming while he was with them. There hasn't ever been a year while he's been in the league that he's thrown over 3,500 yards, and he's never thrown over 25 touchdown passes in a season while he has been in the league. They just went out. The Steelers made they made a move that was affordable, and I think that's what they were looking for. Is that going to be the answer? I don't know, but that's what they did. Does that solve their problems at the position? I don't think so. But there's going to be a QB battle this offseason. I don't even know if he wins that. The battle's going to be between him and Mason Rudolph. I think it's going to be a tight race, but that's what they've done. They brought in Mitch Trubisky, and let's see how that pays off for the Pittsburgh Steelers, okay? Next, this was a pretty good move. I like this move. The Pittsburgh Steelers went out and they picked up cornerback Levi Wallace from the Buffalo Bills, okay? This guy's a physical corner. He tackles really well. He's going to be great in run support. He doesn't create a lot of turnovers, though, but he is a really good tackler. That's kind of Pittsburgh's MO. It kind of has been for their franchise and their organization the whole time they have existed. I think Levi Wallace fits in. I think the fans, the crowd, they're going to love him. And I think he's a good fit for their defense. He's going to come in and start, and I think he'll do a good job. I think they improved their defense with this pickup right here. Next is probably their biggest move of the offseason. Their best move of the offseason so far is they went out, the Pittsburgh Steelers got Myles Jack from the Jacksonville Jaguars. This was a great move for the Steelers. Jack is a great linebacker on the inside. I think he's going to be good for them. I think he's going to hold that down, and it's going to be excited to see him and T.J. Watt play together. That's going to be a lot of fun to see. Myles Jack, he's an athletic freak. He's quick side to side. He's going to be able to stuff the middle for them. It was a good move for them. I think they needed him, and man, to be able to land him, that helps the Pittsburgh Steelers, okay? One last move to note, in my opinion, is they went out and they made a special teams signing this offseason. They signed Gunnar Olszewski. He's a special teams player. He's a kick returner and a punt returner. That's really the main thing that he does. I think that was good for the Pittsburgh Steelers because, man, I'm really concerned about the offense this year. So for them to be able to hopefully flip the field with this punt returner, this kick returner that really does a good job doing that, I think it was a good move for them because I think it's gonna potentially help them, and I think it's gonna be crucial in games that are close for them. Their defense is gonna hold strong. Their offense, I think they're gonna have to find their footing. I think they're going to struggle doing so. And so with that said, Olszewski, I think he comes in, he kind of helps while that offense is trying to do that, okay? So I think that was a good move. He averaged 23 yards a kickoff return and more than 10 yards a punt return. In 2020, he was averaging 17 yards a punt return. That's really good. And so I think that's going to be helpful for them as they try to find their footing and their identity without Ben Roethlisberger, right? So that's what I have for the Pittsburgh Steelers, okay? So let's move on to the next team. Let's move up to your Super Bowl runner-ups, the Cincinnati Bengals, okay? Let's talk about the Bengals for a little bit. Actually, for a quick bit, this is real quick. The Bengals didn't do much. I think they hurt everybody around the world. They had a really good team this year, but Joe Burrow, Joey B, he didn't have a whole lot of protection there with the offensive line, and that was duly noted to the Bengals organization. That's what they did this offseason, offensive line. Offensive line, they went and got it. So they went out, they took La'el Collins from my Dallas Cowboys. La'el Collins had a pretty good year with the offensive line being hurt a little bit in Dallas. He stepped in. Collins is able to play guard. He's able to play tackle. He's a really big boy at 320 pounds. He's going to be a good fit up there in Cincinnati. And I think Joe Burrow, Joey B is going to love him. La'el told him, hey, I've got your back. Don't worry about things no more. Hey, that's a big statement from a big fella, and I think he meant it. So let's see what happens. I think Joe Burrow is going to get a little protection this year. La'el Collins is probably going to lead that, okay? Next, they went out and got Alex Kappa from Tampa Bay. He's looking to play center for them this year. And then after that, they went out and got Ted Karras from New England. He looks to play offensive guard for them this year. All three of these guys look to start, by the way. So, yeah, the Cincinnati Bengals went out there and made some big moves on the offensive line. They're going to plug these guys in right away. As long as they can mesh together, Joey B's in pretty good shape because all three of these linemen are pretty good linemen, okay? One more signing worth noting is they went out and got Hayden Hurst from Atlanta. He's a tight end. He wasn't a big pass catcher down there, but also, man, they signed their tight end recently, and you know, let's see if Hayden Hurst is able to connect with Joe Burrow, maybe do a little bit better than he was doing at Atlanta. But that's what I have for the Bengals as far as offseason moves go. So let's move on to the next team. All right, next let's talk about the Cleveland Browns, okay? They made some big moves this offseason. They made some exciting moves this offseason. They made some newsworthy news this offseason. The Browns went out. They took action in the free agency and the offseason this year. Let's talk about the biggest one, Deshaun Watson. The Browns signed Deshaun Watson. Man, that's up there with Russell Wilson. We talked about that last week. I mean, boom. This is a big signing, y'all. Deshaun Watson spent a lot of time in Houston. He got drafted by the Texans, and he spent his time since he's been in the NFL down there. And, man, Houston's just been hit and miss, plug and play. They haven't really found all the pieces that they need to be a serious contender. But Watson has not disappointed. Watson has been extremely good down there at the quarterback position in Houston. That was not their problem while he was there. So signing Deshaun Watson is a really big deal. He signed a 5-year, $230 million deal. That's $46 million buckaroos a year that Deshaun Watson signed for. Huge deal. I think he's the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL now that he signed that deal. So big deal. Some other crazy news off the field for Deshaun Watson was that over this past year, Deshaun Watson has faced over 20 sexual assault allegations within the past year. Man, the guy, man, he's probably been stressed out, but he's been dealing with that. Good news for him is that he went to court and he will face no criminal charges for any of those sexual assault allegations, okay? So the criminal side of things is behind Deshaun Watson now. He signed with a new team. He's looking to move forward. As far as that goes, him coming back to the field, we'll see if he's got any rust. We'll see if he's ready. But I tell you what, that guy, man, down in Houston, he was incredible. His last season that he played in 2020 down there in Houston, he threw for over 4,800 yards, 33 touchdowns, and only 7 interceptions. Deshaun Watson, again, I'm really impressed by the Cleveland Browns with this move. I liked Baker Mayfield a lot. I really do. I really hope he finds a team because I think he's a starter in the league. But Deshaun Watson, when you have a shot at him, you go for it. And the Cleveland Browns did, and they got it done. So good for them. Let's see what happens with that. Next player that these Cleveland Browns picked up, again, seems like my team is only losing players this year. My Dallas Cowboys lost a big piece of the offense this year, and that's Amari Cooper. Coop is going to head over to Cleveland this year. Him and Deshaun Watson, wow, that should be exciting. Coop's a 4-time Pro Bowl receiver. 5 times in 7 years he's been a 1,000-yard receiver. Coop's amazing. He to me, he's one of the best receivers in the league. He's no doubt a number one. He's going to replace Jarvis Landry. And I think they get an upgrade there in Cleveland with Amari Cooper over Jarvis Landry. really not trying to throw shade at Jarvis Landry, but Coop's that guy. And he did really well while he was out there with the Raiders. He did well while he was with the Cowboys. And there's no exception here. He's going to go to Cleveland. And now with Deshaun Watson, man, he's going to light it up. Cleveland football is going to be exciting. So with that said, let's move on to the next one. Still with the Cleveland Browns, let's talk about Jakeem Grant. I remember this guy when he played against my Baylor Bears. Sick 'em. He played at Texas Tech. He's not a man of big stature. He's about 5'6", 5'7". But man, that guy causes problems in college, and now that he's in the NFL, he's found a little niche for himself. He's doing really well, and he's a great return specialist. Okay, so that's what the Cleveland Browns did. I don't know what it is with the AFC North, but man, these guys really think they need some return specialists. The Cleveland Browns are the second team in this division this offseason that really went out and wanted a special teams guy. So that's what they did. They got Jakeem Grant. Very fast guy. On punt returns, he's averaging 11 to 13 yards on punt returns over the several seasons he's been in the league. He's averaging around 25 yards on kick returns. So looks like the AFC North is looking for opportunities to try to flip the field when they get a chance. Cleveland Browns, Jakeem Grant. Picked up a real good one. Let's see how that pays off for them. Okay, so if you're into watching the whole game as a whole, offense, defense, special teams, let's see how that pays off for these teams in the AFC North. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, guys. That's what I have for the Cleveland Browns. Let's talk about some offseason moves for last but not least, the Baltimore Ravens. Okay, so the Baltimore Ravens. They went out and picked up safety Marcus Williams. Okay, I like this move. Marcus Williams, in his 5-year career with New Orleans, has about 15 interceptions. Just last season, he had 74 combined tackles back there at the safety position for New Orleans. This is a good signing for the Ravens. I really like this. The Ravens do have a good secondary, and Marcus Williams should come in and really help that secondary even tighten up and improve. So that was a good move for the Ravens, okay? Let's see how he does. The Ravens are known for defense just like the Steelers are. And I think Marcus Williams is going to fit right in. I think he's going to like it over there defensively. And I think the Ravens needed him. I think he's going to pay off, and I think he's going to help them stay in games this year, which I think they're going to need. Okay, the Ravens' next move that they did was that they brought back Michael Pierce to help on the defensive front. So they sent him off. He was actually with them at first. They sent him off, and now Michael Pierce is back. He's going to be a good little piece on the defensive front. I believe he plays defensive tackle. He's a big boy. They needed to fill a hole there, and that's exactly what they did. And so bringing Michael Pierce back, I think that's going to help their defense up front and run support. And I think they need that, and I think they addressed that, and I think they did that. One last move I want to address. The Baltimore Ravens weren't too exciting this offseason so far. But let's talk about one more move. They brought in Morgan Moses to help on the offensive line. I'm sure Lamar Jackson will appreciate that. And I think Morgan Moses, he helps them, and I think that improves their offensive line. I think Lamar Jackson's going to need that. J.K. Dobbins is coming back. I think he's going to need that. So that was a good move for the Ravens. So let's see if the production improves because they added Morgan Moses to the offensive line. Let's see how that pays off for them. Okay, so that's the moves I wanted to talk about. Next, let's move the show a little bit on. Let's dive into my way too early predictions of the AFC North, okay? This is how I see it as of now. We've got a long way to go. We still have the draft that's going to happen. So there's pieces to the puzzle that these teams are looking to fill and are going to fill before the season kicks off. We have a whole summer before we get into the fall. Lots could happen, but my way too early prediction for the AFC North, how these teams are set up now, that's how I'm going to rank them and how I see them. And if they were to play today, that's how I'm going to rank them with how their roster currently looks. Okay, so let's waste no more time. Let's dive into it. Number one for my way too early predictions of the AFC North. I've got your Super Bowl runner-ups still sitting in that position. I've got your Cincinnati Bengals. Okay. Joey B has been the man in Cincinnati. He bounced back real strong from his season-ending injury in 2020. Joey B hurt his leg that year, season-ending, and then he came back, and man, did he light it up. Oh my gosh, what a season did he have. So they returned Joey B. And he's a firecracker back there, and man, one of the best in the league, and he's going to have another incredible year in my mind. So Joey B, hold it down. Let's move on to the other pieces of this team as to why I think that they're number one. So the next part of this is the running game. It has familiar faces. The OU duo of Shamaji Perine and Joe Mixon is now the Cincy duo. They have been for a couple of years now, and they're doing a solid job out there. Joe Mixon, man, he's your headliner out there. Mixon did incredible last year with 1,200 yards rushing last season. Perine, he should get a chance to improve his yards per carry average because keep in mind, man, the Bengals went out and they really improved their offensive line, right? So I think a good spot that you'll see that this season is I think Samaje Perine, his YPC, his yards per carry, that looks a whole lot better this year, okay? With the touches he gets, I think he'll get more yards, and I think he'll have a chance to improve his play behind that offensive line. So let's move on to the receivers. This team has incredible receivers. Jamar Chase is a familiar face to Joey B. You know, them two played together at LSU when they won the national championship. They've got a lot of chemistry. They were great at LSU. Man, they've been great in Cincinnati. And so I think they're going to shine this year, okay? With that said, Burrow, as far as his receiving crew, Burrow had 2 1,000-yard receivers last year in T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Man, them guys are going to shine again this year. So, man, watch out for Cincinnati. They're hard to compete with, man, because Joey B, next level, he's lighting it up, and you've got T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. How do you cover that? It's going to be tough. And then Joe Mixon, pumping out 1,200 yards a season. That's incredible. So that offense, they return basically all their pieces and improve their offensive line. Ooh, that's scary, okay? That's real scary. So let's move on to who I think is going to be number 2 in the AFC North, okay? I think this division runs through Ohio. Now I think you've got the Cleveland Browns at number 2, okay? Deshaun Watson entering the backfield with Nick Chubb. That's incredible. Nick Chubb, man, he's an incredible back for the Browns. He's been a huge staple for that team, minus some minor injuries and stuff. Nick Chubb comes in. I think he's ready to shine this year. I think he'll be excited to play with Deshaun Watson. That should be really fun to watch. It's going to be real explosive. Now you also enter the piece of having Amari Cooper too. That's a little crazy. That's a little scary. So let's keep an eye on Cleveland this year, man. They're definitely a dark horse. If these guys can come in and click real quick together, they're going to be a problem. So let's see what happens with that. I do think they're going to have to find their footing a little bit, especially Deshaun Watson sitting out a whole season last year. due to his off-the-field concerns. And so I think he's got to come back, maybe shake a little rust off. But, man, hopefully that should be easy for him to do with Nick Chubb and Amari Cooper out there on the field with him, right? So let's see what happens with that. One more thing I want to note with Coop is that I wouldn't be surprised if he has a 1,500-yard season this year. I want to go ahead and put that out there. I think Coop could possibly have a 1,500-yard season having Deshaun Watson throw him the ball, especially if Deshaun Watson doesn't come out rusty, okay? So let's see if that happens. Donovan Peoples-Jones is expected to be the wide receiver number 2. I think he has a good season with Watson. Donovan Peoples-Jones hasn't been – I mean, he's not out there lighting it up, but I think he improves now that Deshaun Watson's there in Cleveland. So let's see how that works out for him. Let's see how that works out for the team. And I think it's going to be a good thing if I have to say so. The defense is solid. You got John Johnson at safety, and you got Anthony Walker at linebacker. Man, the Browns are really hoping for a good year out of corner Greg Newsome. Greg Newsome is a guy that the Dallas Cowboys also had their eye on. And so I'm familiar with this guy a little bit. He had a good rookie season last year. But Cleveland drafted him, and he had a good season with them. I think they really hoping that he really steps up for him this year. And if he does, again, you got those pieces on offense. You got Greg Newsome and the secondary doing really great things. John Johnson and Anthony Walker playing great. Again, that's why I have these guys at number 2. They got a lot of good pieces to this team. Okay. So let's move on to the next way too early prediction. Let's see. Who do I have at number 3? I have the Ravens. Got your Baltimore Ravens at number 3. Lamar Jackson has all-pro tight end Mark Andrews. He's had him the whole time while he's been in Baltimore. But, man, that duo right there, Mark Andrews, man, he reminds me of this generation's Jason Witten. He's a little bit more athletic, but man, that guy's Mr. Consistent right there. I know Lamar Jackson has got to love this guy. He's got him back, and man, does he really need that, because I'm really concerned about the other parts of this team as to how they're going to move the ball this year. With that said, the Ravens will desperately need Devin Duvernay or Rashad Bateman to step up and help with the production on offense. Those guys are expected to be the starting receivers. And man, I mean, the Ravens, man, they kind of really need these guys to step up. If not, man, it could get ugly at times this season for the Ravens, especially offensively. So those guys got to step up. The Ravens do have potential with young receivers such as James Prochet and Tylan Wallace. But, man, I just don't think those guys are quite ready for the big stage yet. Those guys are really good football players. Watched both of those guys in college, James Prochet at SMU, I believe, and Tylan Wallace certainly at Oklahoma State against my Baylor Bears. Sick 'em. Both of those guys really good receivers. And, man, I think they'll have their day in the NFL, but I don't think they're quite ready yet. So, man, Duvernay, buddy, your Baltimore Ravens, they need you, bud. It's time for you to step up, and let's see how they look offensively this year. With the running game, you have J.K. Dobbins coming back from an injury. J.K. Dobbins had a good season in 2020 with 800 yards rushing. With him coming back from injury, man, the Ravens are expecting him, I'm sure, to hit the ground running, full speed. Man, they need this guy just like they need their receivers. Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews really need that help. Somewhere they need these guys to break out so that way the offense can give these guys a chance to have a good season. If not, that's where the struggle comes in, and I think that's why I have them at number 3. Okay, the defense plays, tough, Harbaugh defenses, Baltimore Ravens defenses, man, they're always tough. That's been their MO, and I don't expect anything different. The defense is a little underwhelming from what we're used to seeing in Baltimore, but I expect Harbaugh to have them ready. I know they're really hoping Derek Wolfe can get a few more sacks this year. They got him from Denver. I think he had 6 or 7 sacks while he was out there in Denver. Dropped all the way down to just 1 sack last year. So, I think the fans, I think the organization, are hoping that Derek Wolfe can step up and help that defense out a little bit more production from him, getting big sacks and big situations that can hopefully result in them winning some football games. Last piece on that defense I want to talk about is Patrick Queen. He's holding down the middle. I really think he's doing a great job there, 100 tackles or more this year, and I think they're okay with him there. The secondary, I think it looks okay, but I think Harbaugh and them are going to have everybody ready to go this year, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So that's my number 3 pick there. So let's move it on to the last but not least, my number 4 pick in my way too early predictions of the AFC North. You've got your Pittsburgh Steelers. Man, the Steelers are looking a little rough around the edges right now in this part of the offseason. Big Ben is gone, and they're trying to replace him with some underwhelming options in Mason Rudolph and Mitch Trubisky. Man, it's hard to get excited for them, and I hate to see that. So let's see what happens. The battle's going to be between Mason Rudolph and Mitch Trubisky. Maybe one of them wins the job. Maybe one of them surprises me and everybody else out here in the nation, that's going to be watching the NFL this year. They do have some great receivers, though, in Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. But I'm really concerned about either Mitch Trubisky or Mason Rudolph getting either of those guys the ball. So hopefully one of those guys finds their footing. If they do, it makes this division tougher. It may change some things and may change some positions in how this division finishes up as well. So they've got some real big pieces there, but they've got to have a quarterback get them the ball, and I'm concerned about that. Man, they definitely have a stud in Najee Harris, running back, former Alabama running back. That's a football factory down there with Nick Saban and them. Here's another one of his products, Najee Harris, and man, he's a good running back. I'm just concerned that things may get a little one-dimensional if these quarterbacks can't get the ball to the wideouts. So doesn't leave much room for Najee Harris to work. So again, of huge importance, Trubisky or Rudolph, step it up, guys, and then y'all might be able to make some noise this year. The defense looks good. The defense seems to be like where the life of this team is and where the sparks will fly for this team this year. They have a real good defense, and signing Myles Jack to play alongside T.J. Watt, man, that's going to be fun to watch, and I think that's why the fireworks is on this side of the ball. There should be some fun moments on the defensive side of the ball this year. So don't get too disappointed, Pittsburgh fans. You still got a fun team to watch. Myles Jack, T.J. Watt, man, they're gonna beat up on some quarterbacks across the NFL this year, and that should be something that y'all should be able to enjoy this year. Okay, Minkah Fitzpatrick, he's a star back there at safety. He's going to have a good season as well. I think it's a shame that the Pittsburgh at this point, man, that they cannot find a suitable QB. Hopefully, Trubisky, Rudolph, hopefully these guys prove me wrong. But at this point, it really seems like they have not found a suitable QB, and it seems like it might be the downfall of their team this year. Okay, let's keep it moving. Let's shift gears here a little bit, okay? So that was my way too early predictions of the AFC North, and that's where it's at right now. That's what I believe. If not too much changes in the rosters and the starting projections look the same for all these 4 teams. That's how I have it laid out this year, okay? So let's shift gears a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about three key free agency players that are still sitting on the market, okay? Baker Mayfield. The Browns GM called him unprofessional. That's a little crazy. That's a little social media fireworks right there for you. The Browns GM really did that. Baker, of course, does come off, unfortunately, as a little obnoxious. The way I see it is he's always played with a chip on his shoulder. The kid's a very fiery competitor. And I think it starts way back when he was poorly recruited out of Lake Travis High School in Austin, Texas. After winning many state championships for them down there, he wasn't recruited very much, and so he had a huge chip on his shoulder for that. He then walked on at Texas Tech, left there, walked on at OU, and man, the guy really did do well at both of those schools. He did really well at OU. He went out there, he won a Big 12 championship. He went out there, he won the Heisman Trophy. He went out there and he went toe-to-toe with the Georgia Bulldogs in the playoffs, took them to overtime. So, man, Baker Mayfield, I don't see, the attitude, I can get it. But, man, me personally a little bit, I like the competitive edge that he carries himself in. And when you really look back at it, he went to OU and won. He won in high school at Lake Travis. Honestly, he won with the Cleveland Browns. He took the Cleveland Browns to the playoffs and helped them win their first playoff game since 1995. So this organization was it was crumbling and falling apart before Baker Mayfield came along, and he really went in and had a couple good seasons with them. And then just this past year, rumors are that he was battling through some injuries, but he kind of had a down year a little bit. But one down year after battling through these injuries, the Cleveland Browns are ready to part ways. If anything, at least they went out and signed Deshaun Watson. So I think they're going to be okay. I don't think they're too concerned about it. But Baker Mayfield is out there, and I think he has the potential to start for somebody. And I think there's a couple teams in mind that could pick him up. And these are the teams that I think would be good fits for him. The very first one, I think this is really the best fit for Baker Mayfield, is the Carolina Panthers. Okay, their offensive coordinator is Joe Brady. Joe Brady did an incredible job with a familiar type of quarterback while Joe Brady was the offensive coordinator at LSU. If you don't know who that quarterback is, the quarterback was Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow went out under Joe Brady, and Joe Brady really set him up to have one of the most electrifying QB seasons that ever happened in college football. Statistically through the roof, broke a lot of records, and he really put him in a good position to succeed. And I'm talking about Joe Brady put Joe Burrow in a good position to succeed. He went out there and won the Heisman, and they also won a Natty that last year that they were there together. So, man, I really think Baker Mayfield might be a good fit because I think Joe Brady's used to that kind of quarterback, and I think they can plug him in and get that Joe Brady offense going. So, man, I really think the Carolina Panthers really need to stop sleeping on Baker Mayfield. Whoever can set that up, I think they need to set that up, because if the Carolina Panthers are serious with their options, man, Baker Mayfield is sitting right there for the taking, and I think he can come in and help that team improve. The next team that seems like a decent fit and that's being talked about a lot is the Seattle Seahawks. Pete Carroll did a great job with Russell Wilson. I'm not sure if Baker's a perfect fit for the type of offense that Pete Carroll likes to run. Pete Carroll is a West Coast style of offense, and that's what he likes to do, and Baker Mayfield's not a perfect fit for that. But again, Mayfield really does have a come-to-work attitude, guys, and I think Carroll could mold him into something that he really wants out there on the field. And so if that happens, I think it needs to take a little time. I think Pete Carroll would need to understand that the first year he wouldn't shine, but I think if given a couple seasons to learn under Pete Carroll, I think Baker Mayfield could be a good fit for the Seattle Seahawks and possibly be Pete Carroll's guy for the foreseeable future. Okay, let's talk about one more good fit for Baker Mayfield, and I think that's right here in the AFC North. I think that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. Man, it would be really nice if the Pittsburgh Steelers could find a way to move Trubisky or Rudolph. Sorry. But I think it would be really good if they could find a way to move one of those guys and pick up Baker Mayfield. Mayfield with Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool would be really fun to watch. I mean, that would be crazy, you know. So I think he could come in. I think he helps the team improve the way that they want to improve. Steelers organization, man, y'all should give some thought to Baker Mayfield. I think the problem there, it seems like maybe cap space, but maybe they could work something out. Maybe some guys could restructure. Maybe there's a contract way of doing this. But Baker Mayfield, I think that could be a good fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Does it happen? No, but I do think it would be a good fit. Okay, so maybe they'll surprise me and maybe it happens. Okay, so let's move on. The next prospect I have, number 2 of the 3 prospects that I wanted to talk about, was Jimmy Garoppolo. There's been lots of talk happening regarding what's going to happen with the 49ers QB this season. It really looks like the 49ers want to move on and try their draft project, Trey Lance, who they got from North Dakota State. They really want to give the guy a chance. Trey Lance, he's a really athletic quarterback, great arm. It seems like the 49ers think he's ready to go, and so it's time to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo. The problem with that is that this offseason, Jimmy G had shoulder surgery, and I think that's what's really holding up these teams. I don't think he's a good fit, shoulder surgery or not, in Carolina. New Orleans is starting over fresh, but they seem to be committed to Jameis Winston. If that happened to change at any point, I think New Orleans would be a decent fit for Jimmy Garoppolo, especially with things kind of starting fresh down there. Maybe he would be a good fit there. But besides that, as far as free agency moves and talks, there's been a whole lot of talk about where he ends up. Unfortunately, I think he stays one more year in San Francisco. So I think he's going to have to sit tight. I think it is Trey Lance's time. He may need to be ready just in case Trey Lance doesn't perform like they like. But one more season with San Francisco, and then I think Jimmy will be ready to move once people see that his arm's ready to go. So the last prospect or player that I want to talk about that's available potentially to make a move here in free agency is Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. They're really trying to convince him to stay in Kansas City, and I honestly think that's the best fit for him, okay? League sources have potentially connected him with my Dallas Cowboys, but I don't see that happening at all. We don't have a lot of money. Basically, everything that's left is left for the draft. I don't see anybody restructuring, so I think that's just all talk right now. I don't see it happening. He's been linked to the Chargers. Many players and fan boards are trying to convince him to come out there. And I tell you what, if the Chargers did that, man, they've already got a really good defense out there. You bring out Tyrann Mathieu. Oh, man, that would be crazy. So I don't know if that happens, but I think it's a possibility. And if it is, and that does happen, we talked about the AFC West last week, and don't want to harp on it too much, but gosh, that's a powerhouse division, and talk about making it even stronger with Tyrann Mathieu. So Let's talk about a couple more teams that look to be a potential fit for him. It's been brought up, and I think these are the realistic options, okay? Now that we've got the Chargers and Cowboys out the way with the chit-chat and stuff, all the chatter going on out there, these look to possibly be his best two teams besides Kansas City, okay? The Saints and the Eagles have also looked at him. Both of those teams could desperately use his help. Again, the Saints are starting fresh, and I think they could use his help at safety. The Eagles, man, their defense hadn't been all that great over the past few years, and man, if they could make a splash like Tyrann Mathieu, man, that would help the Eagles. I don't like it as a Cowboys fan, but if we're objectively speaking here, I think that helps the Eagles, and so if the Eagles have a chance of doing that, man, they better do it because it could help them a lot. Now, as far as the Saints, I think it could help them too. Now you're talking about Tyrann Mathieu going back home. I imagine that he likes the thought of that. And so realistically, of all these options between everything that we just discussed, between him staying in Kansas City or him going to the New Orleans Saints, I think those are your two most realistic options, okay? So we've got a little bit of time left. Let's see if he lands anywhere or if he stays with Kansas City. Let's see what happens with him. But whoever he goes to, man, they're going to be happy that he got him. Okay, it's time to change gears again. Okay, guys, now we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs. I'm going to run through this, okay? Really enjoyed the NFL talk, and I hope y'all do too. But the NBA playoffs are here. Man, we're going to be getting to the NBA Finals here soon after we weed through all the playoff runs. So let's start with it. This is the opening rounds of the playoffs for the NBA. Right now, the Heat are up on the Hawks 1-0. You got the Celtics. They are up on the Nets 1-0. The Bucks are up on the Bulls 1-0. You got the Suns. They are up on the Pelicans 1-0. The 76ers are up on the Raptors 2-0. And then the Mavs and the Jazz, they're even at 1-1. As of the time of this recording, the Warriors are up on the Nuggets. As I'm filming right now, I really think the Warriors are going to win. They're going to make that series 2-0, okay? So with that said, it's early in those series, but this is how I see these opening rounds playing out. I think the Heat will handle the Hawks. I think the Celtics will knock off the Nets. The Bucks will beat the Bulls. The Suns, man, they're going to easily handle the Pelicans. And then you've got the 76ers. They're going to handle the Raptors. Going up 2-0 in this series is a big deal. The 76ers have done that, so I think they finish this one out. And I think that they move on to the next round. The Mavs tying up the series between the Jazz is huge because they've done it without Luka. That's a good thing because that buys time for them to allow Luka to come back and finish out this series and then really move forward in a strong position in the playoffs. If they can hang on and Luka comes back, the Mavs will handle the Jazz. I'm worried about the Mavs on the road without Luka. They really need him back, okay? And then last but not least, your Warriors are going to handle the Nuggets. And then that's how the first round of the playoffs are going to play out in my mind. Okay. All right, guys. Now that we're through the NBA playoffs, let's shift gears again real quick, okay? Real quick, let's talk about the 2023 college football recruiting as it sits today. Let's look at those recruiting classes. Again, as last week and for a while here, guys, it's going to be early on, but a few things did change, so let's run through that, okay? Number one, Texas Tech. I don't know if I ever thought I would say that, but right now Texas Tech sits at the top of the college recruiting class. I don't care if it's early. I said that last week. I don't care if it's early. Texas Tech sitting there right now. That's something really weird to see, okay? So let's keep it moving forward. Number 2, Ohio State. Number 3, Notre Dame. Number 4, your national champs, Georgia. Number 5, Arkansas. Number 6, Penn State. Number 7, Louisville. Number 8, Baylor, Sick'em Bears. Number 9, These people just moved in. That orange team out of Knoxville, Tennessee. And then number 10, this team also just moved in, Texas A&M. Okay, so I have to repeat it, guys. It's still very early on. A&M and Tennessee made their way in. A&M landed a big-time corner and 4-star Javon Thomas, which helped them get bumped from the 30s to number 10. It's just that early on, guys, but that was a huge land for them. Even early on, that was a big land, so congrats to A&M for making that happen. Ohio State also made a big move up, and the reason for that big move was, again, they also landed a real good commit in 4-star running back Mark Fletcher. Okay, other key commitments over the past week was 4-star corner Aaron Williams to Louisville. Okay, then you've got 4-star safety Michael Dougherty to LSU. And then the last one I want to touch on is 4-star quarterback Christopher Fazina to Clemson. Okay, so those were some big lands. Man, those guys are in your top 15 position players across the country, all of those key players that I noted. So each of those programs to get those guys were big lands for these programs, and it's going to help them. And that's going to help them as they continue to recruit. Okay. So let's shift gears one more time here for the last time on this episode. Thank y'all for hanging in there with me. But the last thing I want to talk about was the Ugas and Spence fight. I was really excited for this fight, man. This fight was an exciting one because both of these guys were champs. Ugas had the WBA belts in the welterweight division, and Spence holds 2 belts in that division. And I was excited for this fight. Ugas is no chump. But with that said, Spence won Ugas' WBA belt this weekend with a 10th round TKO of Ugas, okay? It looked like he broke Ugas' orbital in the 7th round, and then he went to town and finished him off from there. But it was a good fight up to that point. Ugas is a very respectable opponent, a champion, no doubt. But Spence is on the come up, and man, Spence has the welterweight division on lock. The only other guy in there that probably could really challenge him is Bud Crawford. Okay, and that's what everybody wants to see next: Spence and Crawford. I don't know if another fight is needed for Spence, but it might be because you have to keep in mind that Spence just came back from injury. His last fight was in December of 2020 against Danny Garcia. He was getting ready to fight Manny Pacquiao in 2021, and then during his training he had a detached retina, which caused him to take some time off because he had to have surgery for that. Well, he came back and he whooped the snot out of Ugas, didn't he? He did have a little rust to shake off, but no doubt did he look good. Was it really that much rust, or is Ugas really just a respectable opponent? And I think it's a little bit of both, okay? With that said, I think if they were to fight today, Spence and Crawford, I would take Spence. Okay, he's the more polished boxer. He's a better technical boxer. He's the quicker boxer. To me, that's what I see, and so I think Spence has more options to prepare for this fight. Bud, no doubt, man, he's formidable in all those areas, very much so. He's a tremendous champion, but that's the last belt that Spence needs, and he would like to try to unify that division. And so, man, hopefully they set this fight up so we can see it. But Bud's no joke. Bud can knock you out with one punch. So Spence has to be very, very careful in there if they were to set this up. So boxing promoters, please get that fight set up for us. The world needs it. Spence and Crawford, make it happen, please. All right, guys, so that's it. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. That's all I had for you today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for sitting around with me, giving me a listen. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of the week. Next week, I'll go ahead and give you a tip. I'm going to go ahead and cover the NFL draft next week. Of course, we'll do our college recruiting coverage. We'll see how the NBA playoffs are looking, and we'll see what else we can cover within the time that we have, okay? So I'm excited for that NFL draft. I'll have a good outlook on that for y'all and my projections and who are the prospects to watch for. So please be sure to tune in next week, because I promise you it's going to be a good one, especially if you're an NFL fan, especially if you're wanting to know who your team should get, who your team most likely will get. So be sure to tune in next week, okay? Don't miss it. This is Talking Sports with Chris Meza. That's it. Take care. God bless. And we're out.
Drugs and even cops, and I say, take me to the city, let the city waddle, take me to my grave. I got more food